said the election would have had to be canceled. So that was quoted from Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, in the New York Post today.
Derek, we'll go back to the documents. It's a question I'm sure you can ask about who do you think killed Jeffrey Epstein? It's a fun question to ask. I want to ask him also who is that question.
Yeah, that's a tough.
That's like half of our audience.
Tough question. No, I mean, if he was an intelligence asset, whether of the Israelis, which I do think when you look into Leslie Wexner, the mega group, there's a lot of people need to dig deeper into there. Johnny has helped with that. We have others have, myself. There's clearly intelligence connections there. If it was some form of intelligent asset, it could have been coming to kill somebody who's going to release information that we can't have out. Of course, there's people who believe that the body that was shown after Epstein allegedly killed himself, that the ears and other parts of the body are not consistent with the Epstein that we saw, that maybe he was actually taken out and he's chilling now somewhere on an island, alive. I don't know. I won't claim to know, but I definitely think if it's true, which it appears to be, that he was connected to intelligence and obviously loyalty, that he would have a lot of powerful people who could either scurry him away or get rid of him and turn all the cameras off in that prison and make sure that it happened without anybody knowing.
Or he could blackmail them to push their
Exactly. Yeah, all of the above.
Derek, let me ask you one more question, Derek. We definitely appreciate your time here, but how much more would you expect out of, because this is apparently the statement that was released today, was that this was going to be a rolling release of documents. How much do you think we are missing here? Are we talking another 1,000 pages? Are we talking about a couple hundred pages? And why is it going to be a rolling release here? I mean, we're talking about there might be even more high-profile names. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's, as I mentioned, there's so many different victims that are still being, that are, I guess, still coming forward. I saw even in the mainstream, I think it was Business Insider did a report on Epstein a week or two ago where they went and tracked down a Polish model. They didn't reveal her name, but, she was connected and she took a bunch of pictures with Epstein and stuff. So there's still victims or alleged victims that are just now coming forward that the lawyers are connecting with. Again, we got the Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan. JP Morgan, we should definitely be following that more because it goes all the way up to the top. We haven't been able to implicate Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan, yet, but they basically threw his right-hand man under the bus now, and they're putting it all on him. It's all his fault. It's his fault that the bank was Epstein. None of us knew. It was, such a big oversight. So there are still these pieces of the puzzle that we don't have revealed, and I think will be revealed bit by bit. But unfortunately, for those who are in the U.S. and know, just like with the JFK files, but we're 60 years past that now, and I think that this could be a situation like that, where this is just a slow drip over time, and maybe hoping people lose interest, or by the time that the full truth is, we can put all the pieces together, there's nobody around to be held accountable. Everybody's died, or, the statute of limitations, etc. have all passed, so I don't have high expectations, but I do think we're going to keep seeing things like this where, okay, here's a new little bit of Epstein information and a little bit more of Epstein information, but I don't think there's going to be any bombshell Epstein client list, or, maybe even we've got as much as we're going to get in terms of being able to prove it, and instead we're going to have to live in a world where we have names of celebrities and politicians and powerful people who knew that they know this guy. They knew this guy that we know was up to some really bad things. Some of them we might even know they flew to the island and they spent a lot of time with him, but we'll never really know what happened there. And for the victims who are speaking up, we can choose to believe them, or we can choose to believe people like Dershowitz who say, hey, I had nothing to do with this. I never, Dershowitz, of course, changed his story several times. I was never there. Okay, I was there, but I just hung out. I didn't get a massage. Okay, I got a massage, but I kept my clothes on. So it's up to us, I guess, to decide that, because these are mainly civil trials too. So it's not like these people are being charged with criminal charges. It's more like the victims are trying to get what they can, and if that means money for damages and things like that, they're going after them in civil court. So we're not going to see anybody go to prison over this.
There's a video we're going to be posting about Dershowitz shortly, and you can all make your own opinion from it. Ryan will be posting that. Ryan, I'm going to give you a mic in a bit. Just two things for the audience. Can you check that comment button if it's working on the bottom right corner and actually mean it? because I know a lot of people are mentioning it's glitching. Just give us a quick comment if it's working for you. And again, I'm not trying to trick you into commenting here. Ryan, I'll give you the mic. Anyone requesting to speak, please DM me and tell us why you want to speak and what information you have, so the team could check everything. Ryan?
Sure. So I've been scanning the document for Bill Clinton specifically. He shows up 73 times, as you can imagine. It's a hefty reading. That's why kind of went silent for a bit. One thing that I keep finding parallel to this document over and over again is the close relationship that Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton had, both as friends, as colleagues, and it seems like he tried to avoid the island as much as possible, but they were on the plane together. The plane, they were on there together. They had meals on the plane. They testified to him being on the plane. So their relationship is a close one. So they were friends, they were friendly, and even in a certain part it says that William Jefferson Clinton's deposition is necessary for the following reasons, because he's like essentially the only one that's left who can kind of testify and bring to light a lot of the stuff that's being discussed here, because I guess maybe he was there so often. I don't know what the reasoning for that is there, but it's just that they had a very close relationship. They were friends. Allegedly.
Alright, so I've got a big one here as well. A very weird one. I'm just going to tweet it out. Right now we've got a bunch of them to tweet out as well. Let me go to Bricksuit. Well, I'll jump in right after Bricksuit and tell you guys what I just found, what the team just found.
Well, I was gonna mention a question there about Epstein and Clinton flying together. Maybe the logistics of having the Secret Service on the island were prohibitive, and I'm wondering if anybody knows if the Secret Service would actually, because I can't recall from the flight logs, on the times when Clinton was on the plane with Epstein, was the Secret Service on the flight log, or did he simply get dropped off by the airport with the Secret Service, fly on the plane, and then meet up with more Secret Service when he landed?
So I'll let someone answer that question. In the meantime, let me read out here what I have posted. And it's going to be probably the weirdest part of the entire document. Hold on 1 second. Wait, are you telling me that Stephen Hawking frequented the island for pleasure? Yes, Jeffrey loved to have intellectuals visit the island so he could reward them for their hard work for humanity and for other darker reasons. Did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Stephen Hawking's proclivities? Answer from one of the witnesses. Yes, he liked watching, Stephen Hawking. Yes, he liked watching undressed midgets solve complex equations on a too high up chalkboard. So that just came in on, not sure what to make of it. Try not to laugh, but that just came in on Stephen Hawking. Not sure if it's true or not.
I await the memes, Mario. I await the memes on that.
I've just posted it. I'll pin it above. You can all work on your memes and that. This is... when you see things like this, where's Derek? Derek, when you see things like this, what can I make of this? Any comments, Derek?
Yeah, can you repeat that question? Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Yeah, of course I can. Did you hear what I said about Stephen Hawking?
Oh, about him, whether he was there for pleasure?
No, but a lot more than that. So did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Stephen Hawking's proclivities? So he said that he frequents the island. He said yes, he liked watching undressed midgets solve complex equations on a too high up chalkboard.
Wow. That's a very specific claim. I mean, again, I personally, based on my own research, I don't put anything past these type of people. And I mentioned earlier that the Stephen Hawking name has been in the rotation for a while since some of the early cases, so we've known that he was accused of certain things, but this is the first time myself personally that I've heard this midget claim, and I don't know. I mean, the thing is that we, again, are dealing with people who portray themselves in one way in front of the cameras, whether that's good, upstanding Christians or law-abiding citizens, tax-paying, all this sort of stuff, but behind closed doors live completely different lives. And many of these same people are, besides potential intelligence connections, are also in secret societies that do have rituals of various kinds. And maybe that's something, for another conversation, but I think we can't put it past these folks that are involved in this, again, with also understanding that we shouldn't just run with the idea that anybody's nameless in this automatically is guilty of sexual abuse or something like that, and knowing that it's basically the alleged victim's word versus Stephen Hawking, who's not even around to defend himself, but I imagine he would claim he didn't do that. So we just have to sometimes settle on that we can believe Virginia if we want, or we can choose to to deny that. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes that's going to depend on our individual biases, because as noted in this conversation, you know, if you bring up the Clintons, some people like that. If you bring up Trump, some people don't like that. And I'm getting some lovely messages just since this conversation started for mentioning potential Trump's connection to Epstein, just as an example. So I think it's all going to come down to our own biases if we want to believe these claims or not.
So do we know anything about the, or do you, Derek, do you know anything about the apparent transfer from Maine that for whatever reason his name has been
Yes. And your thoughts on the, Brian, not sure if you can tell us what you're about to post.
I'm ready.
Perfect. Ryan, please do share it, and then Johnny would love your comments on it. Johnny, you do there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we just hit something extremely big. I think this is one of the first trade regulations. Change order number 3 was the underage girl who was forced into sexually kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein. And in the screenshot that we posted above, we can see direct references to, again, I'm going to put to the word allegedly to protect us. Allegedly, Prince Andrew having sexual relations with this underage girl in 3 different locations in London, New York, and Epstein's private island. And then there's also a reference to Jean-Luc Brunel also being with Jane Doe number 3. So that's all in the screenshot and the post that we put above with direct screenshots. I'm going to keep looking for other stuff. But
Brian, who was the first person you mentioned? Who was the first
Prince
name?
Andrew. Prince Andrew. Yeah, from the British royal family. Can I ask Johnny a question?
Yeah, just let me just quickly. I'm just going to read it one more time. Sorry, and then go to Johnny's comments and a question you have audible. Jane Doe number 3 was forced to have sexual relations with this prince when she was a minor in 3 separate geographical locations. Epstein forced Jane Doe number 3 to have sexual relations with Epstein forced Jane Doe number 3 to have sexual relations with a member of the British royal family, Prince Andrew and Jane Doe. Epstein's
up about that. It's really interesting the way things are playing out and how you see the connections kind of detangling. People assume that when we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, we're talking about everything that occurred in 2009 involved throughout the 1990s as well.
Yeah, if I could,
thank you for that comment.
from Webster right there. I think it's a really important point here to focus in on Mr. Webster. I mentioned the name earlier, but I'll say it again in case I said it too fast. But the mega group, I've done some work on this at theconsciousresistance.com. Whitney Webb has, as well as some others. Look into the mega group. There's only a couple of mentions in the mainstream news that you can find from more than a decade ago. But they describe them, and this is their words, not mine, but as a powerful group of Jewish millionaires and billionaires who get together and meet to discuss Israeli policy and this and that. And Les Wexner was a part of that. And Les Wexner is the one who sold his New York home to Epstein for $1. So there's definitely some powerful things and some more insights to glean from that. The other thing I want to mention before I have to go, first of all, thanks everybody here for all of your knowledge and contributing here. But I want to, and somebody else mentioned this as well, but key in on Jean-Luc Brunel as well. For those who don't know, Jean-Luc Brunel, he's a French modeling agent who was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. It was his M-Squared modeling agency that was part of the way that Epstein and other people in the network were bringing in these young girls through the modeling agency, and then eventually they would be funneled to people like Epstein for abuse. Well, Jean-Luc Brunel was arrested in 2020 as part of the Epstein investigation in Paris. He was arrested and held, but then just like Epstein, in 2022, he is found dead in his prison cell. So for those who don't know, Jean-Luc Brunel, M-Squared Modeling Agency, dig into there. Again, if you're interested, you can find more of my work on theconsciousresistance.com under our Epstein section. Look up Jean-Luc Brunel, Peter Nygaard, of course, and the Mega Group and that whole connection. And I know Johnny Bedmore has more to add to that. I would love to hear from you, Johnny. But thank you, Mario, and everybody for letting me contribute tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to go deeper into these. We're compiling right now the Jean-Luc Brunel, again, one of the executives of Victoria's Secret, which I think is very important. There are a lot of allegations. You mentioned a hell of a lot of times just these documents. So there might be some new information that we'll go through that. But in the meantime, Dom, jump in.
Something I thought that was really interesting to add into this is just the mindset of Epstein was actually renting out a lot of women. So you guys asked something that I found that I thought interesting, that he rented them out. He sent some of these people away from his homes or any of his properties and sent some of these people abroad. I have to find exactly which one, but someone, I gotta find it, was like in Canada, but he sent like a 14-year-old, which is crazy. I already think he was minor. in the air so easily without their parents. But they send them out there and rent them to these billionaires and millionaires, which is very, very interesting to me because it's not like they just automatically come to the island for a service. So it makes me start to wonder, maybe not everything is just about the flights. These children can be shipped them. And there's a heavy emphasis on minors being used. I'm sure everyone that was skimming through it, they see minor, adolescent, and child being mentioned a plethora of times throughout these documents. So the intention was targeting children.
Well, yeah, but we have that special with Maxwell.
Yeah, I missed a lot of that. My phone's messing up here a little bit. But Heather, feel free to jump in or add on.
Well, I've still been going down this, like, Balenciaga owner rabbit hole. And I swear to God, you can't even make this up. He has this weird organization called the Caring Foundation that supposedly assists, like, abused women. So it's like, so you're running in circles with Hillary Clinton, who's running in circles with Jeffrey Epstein, and you have this foundation in 6 different countries that works allegedly with abused women, right? And not only that, it's interesting because the same founder spoke out publicly, even though he's supposedly like a fashion, icon. He spoke out against Trump's border policy specifically. And if you notice, like human trafficking, any border patrol agent will tell you that the open border policy actually allows for human trafficking and child trafficking and emboldens it. And so it's weird that this man who has an organization that supposedly protects abused women spoke out against a secure border, but then also has never spoken publicly about the fact that Epstein, a known trafficker, was arrested and in some of those same circles. So it's really funny how, like, if you just pay attention to when he speaks out and to who he speaks out against and why, it's very telling, So, I mean, it's so obvious, honestly. Like, when you can just do the lightest bit of research, and these people identify themselves, right? It's almost like too easy. Like, you don't even have to have his list to be able to say, who in these circles is speaking out against child trafficking. Because if you're not speaking out, like, you're probably part of the problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one point. I mean, it's clear that these are underage girls. After 60 Minutes had an interview with Maria Farmer where she basically spoke how Maxwell would go outside of the schools with young girls and, basically select them and bring them up to Epstein. I don't remember the exact thing. It's been some time ago. I think there was even, seeking out, young girls with braces, etc. So this is, is it, speculation, etc. But it's clear that, what is known by our government isn't being revealed. I don't necessarily know if everything has been destroyed. They are black men and people, they might still have it. I think if it implicates them, then eventually it might be. But I disagree with Derek. I think that, a blackmail operation is still going on, and, we will see, Israel's been mentioning the CIA, we don't know to the extent all the Five Eyes are involved, but it's clear that they engaged, or at least were complicit, in allowing criminal acts to be done to further whatever their agenda was. You can't meet with these many powerful people and politicians and not come on the radar of the FBI and the CIA. It's impossible. So
just to jump in real quick, I just posted a new thing on Mario's page. Mar-a-Lago was mentioned a few times, but nothing nefarious. I'll put it in the nest for you guys to read. It yourself was mentioned a few times, but nothing nefarious. The only weird thing was Virginia, the girl, the victim, the girl defendant, was the biggest thing was she was looking for, attempted to gather employee records, and she made about $9 an hour. But aside from that, it was questions of, hey, have you gone here? No. Do you have membership here? No. Have you visited here? Yes. But aside from that, nothing that I can find in these documents that are nefarious. Again, we're presenting what we can find on the government.
I'll also have to dig up. There was also something I had read a couple years ago about when the investigations in Florida into Epstein had first been going on. Like, one of the investigators had actually reached out to Trump for information because he was reaching out to everyone sort of like in the West Palm Beach circles and stuff. And I'll have to find the article, but he specifically said something along the lines of, like, President Trump was one of the only people that was actually willing to, like, give information.
Yeah. Heather, the actual interviewer and journalist, Derek Rose, the audience, he was the one who did that interview.
verify. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Just saying Derek was up here before discussing this, and he said it wasn't able to be verified.
I mean, I'm sure if they be membership records, they'd be able to tell them it's not being member. One way or the other, I think he was no longer seeing it. I mean, we don't know if that was Trump's doing, but it's clear that relationship ended. I mean, there's been allegations that, Trump informed on him over a property deal in Florida that occurred. I don't know if that's confirmed, but, I think, whether...
Wait, informed on him how it is, because I can tell you something about informing, but what did you
I'm
say?
still here, by the way. I can speak to that interview if anybody wants to hear from me about the
Please go ahead.
the interview. It may be what was referring to, but my interview was with Bradley Edwards, the lead attorney. This was at one of the civil trials that I attended in Florida before Epstein was arrested. And this is what I was saying earlier, is that it's in that interview where Brad Edwards, Dom, and others have shared it, said that that Trump offered help, and he was the only one that called him back, etc. I do want to note, of course, Trump didn't testify under oath. That was just him communicating to a lawyer. But then after that, I asked Bradley Edwards, I said, so there's this story that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for one reason or another. There's the claims that it was because of he tried to abuse or get with one of the members' young daughters, and then there's also reporting from I think Richard Wolff and some others talking about it's more related to a real estate deal gone bad. But one way or the other, it does appear that Epstein's membership eventually ended, and I was actually researching this claim a little while ago before this started. It came from one of the other claims about him being kicked out. It comes out of the book The Grifters Club, and the author of The Grifters Club, if you want to look that book up, claimed that he talked to George Lombardi on July 11, 2019, and that it was George Lombardi, who was a long-term friend of Trump. And if you go to my page, you can see I linked to his Wikipedia page. This guy's connected to European politicians, and he's been a long time, they refer to him as a political fixer. So he was a friend of Trump's for decades. He was a member of Mar-a-Lago, and so that claim in part comes from him. And again, you can judge whether or not you trust Trump's friend or his long-term, ally, etc. And then the other source would be James Patterson in his book Filthy Rich that I mentioned earlier. James Patterson is a well-known fiction author, but he wrote this book about Epstein. He also is friends with Bill Clinton, wrote a book with Bill Clinton, went on a book tour with Bill Clinton. So what I was saying earlier is I think that we don't have any hard evidence that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago specifically because of his sexual abuse claim. And we don't even really know for certain if Trump was involved in that scene, but it does appear that at one point Epstein's membership ended. But it should be noted, of course, that didn't end Trump and Epstein's relationship. They still knew each other after that outside of the club. He still was in communication with him. As I mentioned earlier, Epstein had 16 of Trump's numbers in his black book, his personal driver, just a number of different people in his family and stuff. So we can't say for sure that whatever happened at the club was the end of their relationship. My belief is that, like many people, whether Trump was involved in abuse or not, but like many people, once it became clear that Epstein was going down with the 2005 arrest and then the sweetheart deal, people started dropping him they got off him as quick as they could because they realized, oh my God, this guy's being exposed. And then, of course,
that didn't happen with Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates and others, they tried to kind of be quiet about it, but of course, by the time Epstein got arrested in 2019, it was all out in the open. But some folks, I think the Clintons, Trump and others, who were maybe just more aware, or just wanted to put their distance for whatever reason, I can't speak for them. They put distance early, but most people, as time went on and it became clear Epstein was going to be exposed in his arrest, then all of a sudden you get all these statements. Bill Gates, of course, has been continued to lie. Whitney Webb's done some great reporting going back and finding now deleted articles that prove that Bill Gates' relationship with Epstein went way back further than what he claimed.
Okay, yes, but I just want to be very clear here. There's nothing to implicate Donald Trump in any nefarious activity. I think the only thing that we've seen so far, besides a mention that of somebody being at a Trump casino at one point in Atlantic City, it doesn't seem like there's anything to even implicate Trump in anything. I know the only other mention that I have seen was Trump on a flight log from Palm Beach, where he owns a home, to
also the accusations from Katie Johnson, which I mentioned earlier. In that case, I don't know what the end result was. It may have been ended up thrown out, but you're right. We don't have that, just like we don't have it with Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or any of these names that were on.
Do you not think that if there was anything to implicate anything at all at this point to implicate Trump on, because he's indicted how many times for things that nobody else would ever be indicted
Personally,
on?
no, I don't agree with that. I think that there's so many people who are. Somebody touched on earlier the blackmail thing. The blackmail operation absolutely is still going on. So whoever was connected to Epstein or knew something or did something, because it's not just people who might have physically harmed children, but people who knew things would be implicated in this.
I mean, Derek, I got this just interject, because the reality of the matter is, if he wasn't related to Steve, then he would have selected him.
I don't buy the narrative being shown to us on the TV screens. Like I definitely believe that Trump is a lot more in. Like Trump was bailed out by Wilbur Ross, the Rothschild banker, back in the 90s, and he appointed him as his commerce secretary once he got into office. So I'm not a quote unquote anti-Trumper. I'm an anti all these people. I think all these people are crooked.
I mean, that's not really relevant, but I do want to mention that it seems like there's no reason to believe.
Yeah.
It seems like there's no reason to believe that Donald Trump had any sort of relationship with Jeffrey Epstein after he was literally kicked out of Mar-a-Lago in 2007.
They still have a relationship. They still knew each other, and we're still in communication. That definitely is a fact. Now we don't know what that means, but also, I mean, we should also say, if you want to say that.
Well, if you can send me that information, that'd be awesome.
I want to say we could say the same thing about Bill Clinton. We could say the same thing that we don't know. So it's important to just let's play both sides. Like we don't know the truth about. Obviously, Bill Clinton flew a lot of times on there. That probably hints at something more. But the fact is, we don't have that evidence either for any of these people that we're talking about. So ultimately, what we have is the victim statements in court, and then we have our own speculation. I mean, because none of us were there, none of us. There's no, we don't know exactly what Prince Andrew was involved in, but we know Virginia accused him of stuff.
It's very difficult to compare in this situation Prince Andrew to Donald Trump. And I think Prince Andrew has been so far mentioned 127 times as far as
I'm not comparing him. I'm just saying
Donald Trump was mentioned. The name Trump was mentioned 4 times. It's not even referring to just Donald Trump. Again, we're talking about a casino that somebody visited at one point. I have to get the Dom. Thank you, Darren. Dom. Okay.
Hey, brother, I was still investigating. I had to drop off. I didn't want to drop off without thanking you guys for having me come on. Thanks for the platform. Great conversation.
Thank you, sir. Love having you.
Yeah, if I have some more info, I'll send you guys some DMs. If I have some exclusive or something, I'll give you skin into it. But thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
So thank you so much, Dom. Appreciate it. So there's a well-known prime minister. I'm about to post it now. There's a well-known prime minister, Epstein, trafficked young girls, underage women.
Talking about now,
We don't know. Just as a well-known prime minister.
I mean, we haven't mentioned Edward Barack and his connections to Epstein are very, very